This is the New Mexico State men's basketball weekly press conference with head coach Chris Jans. Coach, obviously, last week, big week, especially on Saturday, get our first WAC win of the season, put a 3-game losing skid to an end. Just kind of talk about, after a few days with that first win under your belt and the team's belt, how does it kind of look here heading into next week, this week on our way to Seattle?
I should have talked to you prior, Charlie, but first and foremost, what's on my mind is the passing of Lou Hill. It stopped me in my tracks yesterday. I just still can't believe it. I'm shocked. I'm saddened. I feel just awful for his family, his children, his wife, his UTRG family. I just can't imagine the emotions that they're going through. And it's one of those things in life that you wish you could do something about it to make it better, and you can't. But our prayers are with them. Our thoughts are with their players and Lou's family. And it's just an awful tragedy, and it just hurts. It hurts inside. He's such a good man and a good coach. And we had a little dust up at our place one year, and we joked about it since. And I told him I'm certainly not getting in a ring with you, man. And just it kind of brought us closer together, to be honest with you. And I just feel really bad for all those folks that are being affected by it. But certainly will answer any questions about the games this weekend or coming up, etc.
Coach, you kind of brought it up, the dust up from a couple of years ago, but he was just just seeing him in your games against him, he just seemed like such a competitor, and just his teams kind of almost embodied how he was in a way, it seemed like.
It's known in our industry, that's a tough job. And, a lot of people have won there, and history tends to repeat itself. And he's built a program. And like you mentioned, a program that, you got a pretty good idea when you watch a team play, what the head coach's personality is and what he tolerates and what he doesn't. And those kids played hard for him. They believed in him. And it told me a lot about him as a man, about how his teams laid it on the floor for him. And doesn't feel real. It just doesn't feel real. And I have a lot of respect for him, of how he went about his business, how he handled himself, how his teams competed. You knew you're going to have to play hard. You're going to have to really compete, because they were gonna, and certainly his team reflected his personality and his competitive desire that he had. And it's just an awful tragedy.
Chris, when you see that, you've already talked a little bit about your emotions when you saw it, but the coaching world as a whole, especially with what we're dealing with this year with the pandemic and things like that, how does that kind of ripple affect everyone, not just everyone who's been impacted by Lou Hill, but just the whole coaching community as a whole?
It's a big industry, but it's tight. You're in it long enough. I always say, you're one person removed from everybody. Someone that knows that person if you don't know them, once you get in the business for a couple of decades or longer. And I think everybody's crushed. I think everybody's saddened. I think everybody is hurt, by it. And, Anthony Stewart from Tennessee Martin, who I knew fairly well as well, just shocked us, and now to have 2 head coaches within a short period of time, pass away during the season, during the middle of a pandemic, is hard to swallow. And it's real life hitting you in the face. And like I've said many times, prior to now, people were feeling sorry for us for being relocated. And, my response was always, there's a lot of worse things going on, because of the pandemic. And here's a great example of it. That was nothing. And I felt like that, from a personal standpoint. So, it's just it's one of those things in life where you go, why? You know, and he's got all these wonderful kids and a family, and he's done such a great job, and he does things the right way. And nobody says a bad word about Lou Hill in our industry.
Yeah, Coach, I'm sure obviously a lot of emotions, but just how do you shift that focus to now getting ready to go out and play a good Seattle team?
Yeah, I mean, we'll certainly talk about it as a group today, and you know, share my thoughts, etc. And obviously, you got to keep moving, and you know, we'll practice today like normal, and it'll be more about us, you know, trying to get into routine now. We've had a couple of weeks of the back-to-backs and have a better feel of how it feels to go through that when you're playing the same team. And we've done it on the road. We've done it in El Paso in our home court. And so I think we're in a better position to handle the approach. You know, like today, Mondays will be more about us trying to get better. You know, a lot of NMSU versus NMSU, and you know, not a scout team type situation, and you know, trying to stick with our staples and our fundamentals, and then more get into scout mode. You know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you still have 3 full days to prepare for an opponent to play back to back. So I think we're all getting a lot more comfortable on, you know, how to approach these games and how to deal with the time in between them. I know for me, Saturday night, I felt a lot better. I wasn't as frazzled. I didn't feel as tired. I didn't feel quite as stressed. I felt more comfortable, you know, heading into the second game than I did the first time around.
Coach, there were a lot of encouraging signs Saturday, but I think Will McNair was probably one of the biggest ones. Did you see that coming in practice leading up to the weekend?
I've always been a fan of Will since he's arrived. You know, I made some comments publicly and privately that he's the type of guy that when you get, and if you and him and the program are on the same page and he's got the buy-in, and you have the right amount of patience, that as a 4th-year junior, he's one of those guys where if you don't know him and you just run across him playing, people would say, how'd they get him? You know, he has that kind of potential. Will he get there? I don't know. I hope so, for him and for us. But all along, I've said that he's that type of player that if he sticks with it and he keeps working and he's coachable and he's got a competitive internal desire to be really good, that he's that kind of player, you know, because you know, those guys aren't running around at our level with his size, his hands, his agility. He's a smart basketball player. He's a good kid. He's a really good kid. I love being around Will McNair. He's got a great personality. He's fun loving. He's talkative. The guys love him. You know, he's got a little teddy bear feel to him, which doesn't always help him on the court. But, you know, we're working with him every day. And, you know, it's encouraging for him and for us, for him to, you know, have productive minutes. And it's only going to help his confidence. It's only going to help his teammates' confidence in him, our coaching confidence in him. But, you know, his basketball is definitely ahead of him. You know, he's still learning and still getting comfortable. But, you know, it's nice to see him be productive and influence winning like he did Saturday night.
Coach Marcus and Mayan are also starting to ramp up their production, especially there in that last game against Cal Baptist. You mentioned looking for guys that you can trust a little bit more. How good is it to now have them in the mix?
I don't know if they're in the mix. They're available. I don't know what kind of production Mayan's had. I don't remember him doing all that much in the game that he was in. He played the last handful of minutes when the game was out of question. But in terms of Marcus, you know, I don't know, keep repeating myself, but he's a great talent, great body, and understand something. I don't have like some rule that, you know, freshmen or first-year players can't be starters, or they can't be first guy off the bench, or they can't be leading scorers. I don't care. I don't care what year they are, where they come from, what their status is. You know, you deserve what you get. You know, you get what you deserve around here, and everybody knows that. And it has nothing to do with him or anyone in our program being a first year, second year, third year. I don't care if you're a fourth year guy. That doesn't mean you're going to be, given minutes based on longevity. That's not how it works. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that. But in Marcus's situation, when you're that guy, okay, and you're playing AAU basketball, high school basketball, you can shoot any ball you want. There's no repercussions. You're the best player, and you're going to shoot a lot of shots. And you're not going to be held to a high standard on defense and rebounding and spacing and sharing the ball and all the nuances of the game. And so someone like him, he's got a lot to learn. And that's the only thing holding him back is that part. With the ball in his hands, he's terrific. But unfortunately, there's a lot more to the game. You don't have the ball in your hands that much when you really break it down in a college basketball game. But he's got talent, and I love him. He's got a great work ethic. He's a wonderful kid. And trust me, no one wants him to be, get it on the court more than me. He can influence winning. He can help us score. He gets on the glass. And so I think this is going to propel him. I think it'll give him more confidence. And he just needs another good week of practice, and then hopefully he can continue to earn minutes as we go along. In terms of Mayan, that's a whole nother story that I don't care to get into the details of it, but he just got to string good days together. He's got to do the right things every day. He's got to be coachable every day. He's got to be on time every day. He's got to do all the things that every program in America demands of their kids, their student athletes. And, he's had some setbacks that, he gets out of shape quick. And so, he's in a position where he's fighting for minutes. There's Johnny's down there, Donnie's down there, Will's down there, Wilfred Lakai's down there, guys that are pretty good players and have shown the ability to influence the game in the right way. And so he's got to figure out how he can get into the game when the score is, close.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned Johnny. How do you think he responded in that game too, not getting the start, and was there anything more specific as to why that didn't happen?
I didn't think he'd been playing very well. He knows it. We've had individuals meetings about it. I've singled him out in team meetings about it. Johnny's always been a guy that has had all that talent, right? He oozes talent. He's always been a complementary player to some other really starring players on the offensive end. And it's always been about, well, wait till Johnny gets older. Wait till Johnny is an upperclassman. Well, he is now. And I'm not sure his personality is suited to be the guy. I'm not sure his personality is the one where he can be the alpha dog. That's not really who he is. And that's okay too, but we need him to be more like that right now. We're asking him to be more like that now. Like, he's so unselfish with the ball around the basket. I'm imploring him to be more selfish, be more hungry, go score the ball. Your teammates want you to score the ball. We appreciate his ability to see the court and pass the ball, but it's like sometimes he doesn't realize he's got a guard on him and he just lets him off the hook and passes it to an open man, and it's not a bad play. But we need him to be more of an aggressive offensive basketball player for us. And, he's not in Johnny's shape. He's not as explosive as he probably was in years past. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of nagging injuries that he has had throughout this year. It's one of those things where I said, if you even knew the half of it, if people really knew all the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes, besides the stuff that's obvious and public, it's been a lot of obstacles that have been put in front of us. Some of them are moving targets that we're trying to avoid. But in terms of not starting, it's just trying to shake it up, trying to, try to get certain individuals to play better, et cetera. And I thought Johnny played better. I don't know what his stat line was, but I thought he tried harder. I thought he was more aggressive. I thought he had a little more oomph to him. It's like he did the game one, but with like 10 minutes left on the game, all of a sudden he's barking at me about getting him the ball and about this. And I'm like, the next day, I'm like, what are you waiting for? Okay. Did someone, PO you during the game? What happened to light that switch? Because I want it all the time. And as you can imagine, it's not like I haven't tried everything I got in my bag to try to get him to play with his hair on fire all the time. So unfortunately for me, I haven't been able to quite figure it out, but we're still working on it. We're still going to stay on him. We're still going to try to get him to be the type of dude that we need him to be for this particular team.
I know he's shown that he can hit the three and all that, but when you want a guy to be more aggressive,
Yeah.
do you kind of take the green light on that three away a little more than he feels he has, or does that just then get into his head? When
Yeah,
you're
it's a
talking
fine
about
line.
aggression,
Yeah,
with the big guy.
you're right on the you're on the right thought process, and it's a fine line. I don't like my guys thinking about, is this a good shot? I don't like it. Okay, we try to work that out in practice because I want them to be confident. I don't want the little man in their head telling them, hey, this ain't a good shot, I might get pulled out of the game. I'm not a believer in that. Okay, I want them to burn it with confidence that I'm gonna knock this down and there's no worries. So it's a fine line, but is he taking too many threes? I don't know if he's taking too many threes. I don't think he's taking enough twos. Let me put it that way. I think he needs to score around the basket more. I think he needs to get more offensive rebounds. I think he needs to back his man down and put him in the rim, and do those kind of things. I don't necessarily think he's taking too many threes. I think he needs to take more twos to complement his game more.
Chris, you after the GCU game, you talked about how you have guys that can put the ball in the hole. Did you think it was going to come this quick that it did, the way it did this weekend?
I was hoping it was going to happen a long time ago. I mean, I see it in practice. I know these guys. I know their talent. Some of the guys have proven it on the court. Some of them have only proven it in practice. But like I said before, someone asked me, was it can't score or didn't? I'm like, it's definitely, didn't. It's not can't. It's just experience. It's just being on the court, against someone else, may not stop in practice, and where there's something on the line, and being able to do it then with each other, and I thought we moved the ball beautifully Saturday. I thought we really shared the ball, had the right mentality, had scored more in transition, and albeit, that team was tired. They traveled. It was a second night. They don't play a lot of guys, so we had an advantage that way. But it wasn't our kids' fault. I mean, they were just trying to do the right thing. And like I said, after the game Saturday, the encouraging thing was on Friday, it wasn't our offense's fault. I thought we played well enough offense to win that game on Friday. We just didn't have the bite in our defense and our toughness categories that we've had in the past. And that's what we were talking about more heading into Saturday's game than anything with the offense. So, if you look at our numbers, I mean, we're shooting like 28% from three, and we're making our free throws, but we're giving up 66 points a game, which is unlike what we've had in the past. So there's a lot to work on besides our offense. Certainly that's one of them, but there are a lot of facets of the game that we got to get better at.
We have any other questions for Coach this morning, guys?
I just had one about how does Seattle look on film as this year as opposed to years past?
Similar. They're gonna space you out and try to get their better players in space against you. That's kind of what they've been doing since Coach Hayford has arrived, and really pick on matchups and try to exploit those. And they got the guard out front, the new guy Trammell that is having a big year thus far. I think he's averaging close to 20 points a game, and he scores it in a variety of ways, and he's got the green light. He's their version of Terrell Brown this year, and he shoots the three better, and he's quick and can get in the paint and cause havoc and willing to give it up. And then, this past weekend, their best returning player, Grigsby, I don't think didn't play at all, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure what his situation is. I don't know if we'll ever find out. I'm sure we'll dig around and try to find out heading into the weekend. But certainly they're a different team when he's not on the court. They've had some big wins, and I know they're coming off pause, and we know I could certainly relate to that, and I'm sure they'll be better next weekend after having a couple more games under their belt.
All right, anything else for Coach this morning, guys? Okay.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris, Charlie.